core team here. I always like to start with a really good overview on what are specialty programs. Specialty programs are activities or programs in Prince William County that focus on some sort of a career exploration, a subject area, or preparation for university or college. It's important to know when we talk about specialty programs that all schools in Prince William County are comprehensive schools, meaning all schools are going to offer gifted, all schools are going to offer special education services, all schools are going to offer English language learner services, and all schools are going to be able to support your child and have advanced courses available. Specialty programs are if you have or your student has a special interest that they'd like to explore. And so that's when the vast majority of our kids apply to specialty programs. All of the programs on the middle school level are interest-based, meaning that we have a basic criteria for all students to enter, but the main criteria that we wish is that students are interested in that content or in that subject area. Students participate in only one program. So when you apply, you're going to have a choice of up to 3. You're going to choose your top 3, but you will only ever participate in one program at a time. Additionally, if a student is participating in a program that is not at their neighborhood school, otherwise known as your base school, you will attend the program location full time. So we're going to go through a couple of examples for you this evening, but just understand that students are essentially accepting a transfer to a school location if it is not their normal neighborhood school. Before we get started and we talk through which programs are available, I often get the question from families, how do I know what program to apply for? How do I know if I even want to apply for a program? And if so, what do I do? So the first thing I always tell families is to create an interest list. It is the very first thing I ask families to do. And so what I like you to do is sit down with your student with a piece of paper, and you're going to have them write down everything that they like to do when nobody is asking them to do anything. So you didn't ask them to clean their room. You didn't ask them to break the leaves. You didn't ask them to play with their brother or sister. You didn't ask them to work on their homework or to read, or you're not doing something necessarily, it can be as a family, but nothing that is required of them. When they have free time, what are the things that they like to do in their free time? And they're going to create a full list of that. So that's your interest list. So that's step 1. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to research your neighborhood schools. Oftentimes we'll hear from families that they're looking for a program or a course and it's offered at their neighborhood school and they just didn't know. We always think it's really important to make sure that you understand where you are and what opportunities are offered in your neighborhood school, to go and visit, to spend some time, to check out their website before you explore programs outside of your school, outside of your normal neighborhood school. It will always be easier to participate in a program in your neighborhood school because of the distance and the proximity and some of the other things we'll talk about this evening. But we also want students to just go into this decision very informed. The third step I'd like for families to do is I want you to research all the available programs that you have. Also, where are they located in relationship to your home? Consider 1, again, that interest list that your student created, and 2, consider the logistics that go into this. So how are you going to get your student to and from school? What happens if there's an early dismissal or a late arrival? What happens if your student wants to participate in activities after school? How do you take care of those types of things? And we'll go into that a little bit more in depth in some of the following slides, but those are the 3 things I like families to start on. Once you've done all of those things and you've researched, you've created your lists, you've researched your schools, you've attended activities. So don't just, we always want you to obviously go and visit, but we want you to attend like an activity. Maybe they have a Saturday activity. Maybe they have a game. What does it feel like? Feel is so important for students in their schooling. And then the last thing I want you to do is I want you to go back to your interest list and you're going to rank your programs of interest. And we'll talk about that a little bit more on another slide. It's important to know that all of our programs have specific service areas. So they're already predetermined. This is a question we get very often. So we're giving you a little bit of an example. So If each of our programs has a designated location. So on the example on the board, we have a student who is zoned for Parkside Middle School, but they are interested in the math and science program. So if you look at the schools below, you have Graham Park, Marsteller, and Ripon. And below those, you have the list of the schools that are zoned to that particular program. So at Graham Park, you can see all the schools that are there. At Marsteller, you can see all the programs that are there. And then Ripon, you can see those as well. So I'm going to give you guys a second to look over the list before I reveal the answer. Okay, so I'm a Parkside student and I'm interested in the math science program. I'm sure you all came up with Marsteller as your answer. So Marsteller is the location. A question that we often get asked about program service areas is sometimes, occasionally, one location is closer to your home than another. Can you transfer to another location? And the answer is no. They are pre-zoned. We do not change the zoning. And so it's really important that you understand exactly where your student is located and where your school is that you're interested in. And we will walk through those this evening. The other piece, remember I talked about in your steps, is to think about your logistics. So Prince William County offers two main types of bus transportation. We have traditional bus transportation, and this is the one that you guys are most familiar with. You get up in the morning, you get dressed, and the bus stops somewhere in a close proximity to your house, and it takes you to your neighborhood school. For the most part, traditional bus transportation is pretty close, within about a half a mile to your house in the school, or between a half mile from your house, and then you would pick the bus up and they would take you to your school. However, for students who are participating in specialty programs outside of their neighborhood boundaries, we do offer express bus service. It's important to know that express bus service is not intended to be door-to-door. It is not intended to necessarily be very close. It is intended to provide another transportation option for our specialty program students. At times, that express bus service location can be a little bit far from a home, but they are centralized stops where a bunch of students can gather safely. So it's usually a neighboring elementary, middle school, a community center, or a recreation center, or sometimes even a fire station. And students will meet there in the mornings, and they will get picked up and taken to their specialty program location, and then they will be dropped back off there in the evenings. So we always talk about this slide, and we spend a lot of time on this slide because it's really important to understand two things about transportation. First, the distance between your house and your transportation stop is very important and can really impact a student's experiences in school. We want students to be well-rounded students when they participate in our programs, so we want them to be able to stay after school. If that express bus stop is further from your home than a traditional bus stop, that sometimes can be a consideration for families. So I want you guys to think through that. Additionally, some students like to stay after school, and we hope that you stay after school and get involved in some of the after school activities and clubs and sports that are available. After school activity buses are not always available for transfer students, and we don't have necessarily a ton of opportunities for transportation for specialty program students. So a traditional school, let's say, has 15 buses. I'm just taking a guess. So if a traditional school may have 15 bus stops, their specialty program transportation might be 5. So that's kind of to give you an idea of kind of the scale that we're talking through. So we now are giving you an example. So here's an example for transportation. So I have 2 or 4 students. The students on the left are who we are going to look at first. These are students that are zoned for Marsteller Middle School and plan to attend Marsteller Middle School. So student A lives on Tarvey Circle, and their bus stop is on Loma Drive in Tarvey Circle, which is 0.2 miles from their house. Very quick walk, very short, easy to do, no problem. Student B lives on Fisher Ford Court, and therefore, because it's less than a mile and they don't have to cross any major streets, they are a walker to school, and they walk about 0.8 miles. Again, anything under a mile, we don't usually get a bus for unless it's crossing big roads. But students A and students B are zoned for Marsteller, and they are attending Marsteller. On the right, we have students C and D. Students C and D are zoned for Parkside Middle School, but they're choosing to attend Marsteller for the math and science program. So if you look at student C lives on Blue Gray Circle. That person's express bus stop is going to be Mullen Elementary School, which is 0.6 miles. Again, that's not necessarily very far. So maybe that's not such a hindrance, but I want you to remember that when we're getting to and from school, the most important thing for Prince William County is that your students are safe. We want to make sure that they're going and that it's light outside, that they're not crossing major roads, that they're able to be travel to and from that bus stop at a safe time. We are already in winter, so when they're leaving for school, it's a little bit dark, and when they're coming home from school, it's a little bit dark. So all of these are considerations that we like families to think about. If you look at student D, you'll see that they live on Aruba Court, and their express bus stop is also Mullen Elementary School, which is 2.3 miles from their home. So that's a student that I would definitely say should not be walking to and from the bus stop. So you'll want to make sure that you have transportation or a way to get your student to and from that stop for that specialty program. These are really good times to meet your neighbors and your friends and start carpooling if you're interested in programs, but we do not want students walking to and from express bus stops in the dark or at unsafe times or in unsafe conditions. So really consider that as you're making your choices for programs to attend. I always recommend that families also drive the route from their home to the program location, but also from their home to their express bus stop locations. And we're going to share how you can find those shortly. On the middle school level, we have 5 specialty programs, and we're just going to take our time and go straight through all of them. So the ones that you can see on the board, these are our 5 programs: the International Baccalaureate, the Math and Science, the World Language, the Same Gender, and the traditional programs. The first program we have is the International Baccalaureate, which we sometimes call IBMYP. IB is our only program in Prince William County that student can participate in from 1st grade all the way to 12th grade. But students do not have to do the entire continuum in order to participate, so they can pop in and pop out. We use, for the IB curriculum, they use Prince William County curriculum inside of an IB framework, and they work on interdisciplinary approaches, meaning that they are interweaving content from math, science, English, and social studies, and doing a lot of cross-curricular activities. The IBMYP is actually a 5-year program versus a 3-year program. Most students take it in middle school, but it does continue in grades 9 and 10, which then leads into the bigger IB programs after that, or the diploma program, the career-related program. IB really focuses on students at the center and giving students languages or language and words and that kind of control their or can describe their learning. For example, IB will say, if a student tries a problem that is really difficult and maybe it's not something that they're super confident in, they might say, oh gosh, I was a risk taker today and I tried that problem today, and I really was excited that I was able to complete it. You'll also notice in IB that the interconnectedness of the content. So what you're studying frogs in science, you might study their frogs and their habitats in science. You might study the population count of frogs in math. You might study the geography where frogs are found in social studies, and then maybe you're going to write a story about a frog in English. So really, the connectedness between the content areas is really important for IB. We have 4 program locations, or what we call sister programs, in Prince William County, and they're posted on your screen right now. You can also see what schools are designated for each location. So you'll see Bevel has Bevel, Lake Ridge, and Saunders. That means if you attend any of those schools, that would be your normal school, that would be the school that you would apply to. I'll give you guys a second to look over this, but while you're doing that, it's important to know that students can apply for the IB program in grades Rising Grade 6, Rising Grade 7, or Rising Grade 8. So if your student's a current 5th, 6th, or 7th grader, they're all welcome to apply for this program on the middle school level. Remember, it's a full transfer to the program location for that service. The second program we have our traditional school program. Again, it uses our Prince William County curriculum, and it's based on what we call a traditional school framework. For example, Pennington is based on the Marva Collins model. And so therefore part of that is students wear uniforms to and from school. There is a parent and a student community service requirement based on the age of your child. So a first grader might have 10 hours of community service that they would do with their family, where a fifth or sixth or seventh or eighth grader might have 40 hours of community service. Our traditional schools are grades 1 through 8. The other thing to know about our traditional schools is the number of seats available varies from year to year. So we know that in first grade, because the first year that students are able to participate, they usually have approximately 80 seats. And then the number of seats that they have after that point really vary based on the number of students that enter or exit the school. So last year, for example, in some of our traditional schools, we had 2 slots available in 8th grade and none available in other grades. But then sometimes there's 10 or 15 slots in a grade. We really aren't always sure, but if you are interested in one of our traditional schools, when you go to their information sessions, which we'll talk about and show you, it's really important that you ask them, if they know this early, how many seats are available for their lottery. The program locations of Pennington and Porter. And this is a very different one in that the location that you apply to is not based on your school, your neighborhood school. It's the only program we have that's based on your home address. So if your home exists west of Hoadley Road, so we think Hoadley is the dividing line in Prince William County, anyone who lives west of Hoadley Road applies to Pennington. Anyone who lives east of Hoadley Road will apply to Porter. We also have several world language programs. These are one-way immersion programs. Students have the opportunity to earn high school credits. So in grade 6, they take the first part of a language. So language 1A. So we're going to use real languages in here because it makes it a little easier to understand. So traditionally, a student in the first year would learn Spanish 1. Right? So in grade 6, they're going to learn the first half of Spanish 1. In grade 7, they're going to learn the second half of Spanish 1. And in grade 8, they're going to learn Spanish 2. By the time students leave their world language programs, they will have 2 what we call Carnegie credits, or 2 high school credits in a world language. We offer languages, French and German and Spanish. French and Spanish are offered at all 3 of our schools. German is only offered at Lake Ridge. And the other caveat to this one is our world language programs, because of the way the language builds on each other, are only available to rising 6th graders. So if your kid is a current 5th grader now, and they're interested in the world language program, they will want to apply right now. We do not allow transfers outside of your zone. We've mentioned that earlier, but even for language. So sometimes we'll get a request where a family will say, but I'm really interested in German. If your school doesn't offer German, then German's not an option for you at this time. So you can apply as a rising 5th grader. And again, those are available for you there. Here are the schools where they're available. Fred Lynn offers French and Spanish, as does Parkside. And Lake Ridge offers French and Spanish, and then obviously the additional German. I'm also going to show you where to find these things on our website. So if you didn't get a chance to see them all, you're trying to capture them quickly with your phone, don't worry. Our next program that we have is our math and science program. These are intensive studies in math and science. In most of our programs, students are placed appropriately in their math, and their science classes are enriched science classes. And the goal in our math and science programs is to really challenge students in the area of science and develop those critical thinking skills and incorporate math along the way as we do that. Students are, for the most part, required to do science fair projects and also have a lot of hands-on field trips and extension activities in those 2 core areas. Our math and science programs located at 3 schools. We have one at Graham Park, we have one at Marsteller, and we have one at Ripon. We also have one same gender program in the division. In the same gender program, these are what we call gender specific classes, and this is only in your core classes. So in English, math, science, and social studies, students take classes with only girls or only boys, whichever is their gender that they apply for. They are then able to do activities that are kind of gender focused, but they do mix again for their other courses. So in PE and art and music and those things, it is co-ed, but in their math, English, science, and social studies, it is single gender. And this is a program that is only for the students that apply. So the likelihood that your student would be in a same gender course if they didn't apply doesn't always, it isn't likely to happen. Woodbridge is open to any students that are east of Hoadley. So if you live east of Hoadley, this is a program that's available to you. I do like to mention at this point that we only have a very few limited numbers of bus stops for Woodbridge High School or Woodbridge Middle School. We usually offer 2 and sometimes 3 stops. And so it's really important to understand whether those stops are for your program if you're interested in the same gender program. When we're looking at students who are interested in the program, there are 3 things we like to look at: academics, attendance, and behavior. Remember in the very beginning, I told you that these programs are all interest-based programs. So when we talk academics, we're talking general academics. Students must be in good academic standing, meaning they must have a C or better in their courses. They must have good attendance, right? So, and they must also have good behavior. And those schools will let you know what those criteria are specifically for attendance and behavior, but we tend to all follow the same things. Once a student has met these 3 things, then they're eligible for applying for our program, and they're welcome to do so. I also like to tell families, if your student is faltering in any of these areas, but they're really interested in the program, I always suggest that they apply. Many of our programs have what we call is a lottery, meaning that they have a limited number of seats for the number of applicants that they have. For example, if we're talking about the traditional schools, again, the Porter and Pennington, Porter in particular traditionally gets about 700 applications, and they have maybe 100 seats a year. So obviously we know it's 700 applications and only 100 seats that not everybody is going to get in. But we always want students to try for a program if it's something that they're really interested in. Some of our other programs don't have as many applicants, and so they are able to adjust a little bit on that criteria, especially if there's a strong interest in your student for that. When your student applies, they simply just going to fill out the application. We're going to walk you through that application in just a moment, and they're going to submit. The schools will then evaluate and they will approve or disapprove. So you will have 3 main options for choosing your programs, and we'll talk through those in a moment. So the first thing that you guys, so if we kind of look at our timeline of our season, you are currently in step 1 on this timeline. You are researching programs, you're attending information nights. This is critically important. In that step, when we talked about researching and understanding your neighborhood school versus your program locations, every single program that we talked about today, those 5, all will have information nights between now and February 1st. It is really important that you go to those information nights. If you can attend in person, it's even better. Most of the sessions are in person because it's really important to understand that school and understand the feel of that school, as well as be able to ask questions about the program. The second step is going to be that on November 1st, so in about 2 weeks, our application is going to open. And when it opens, that will be the time that you'll be able to submit your application. You'll have until February 1st to submit that. And it's February 1st at 11:59 p.m. We do not recommend that you wait till 11:58 p.m. to start your application. But after February 1st, 11:59, we are unable to take additional applications. Our program actually shuts down and no other additional applications can be taken in. And then we'll release decisions in mid-February. So once the application closes, we then turn those over to our coordinators for review, and then they make decisions on applications for you. In the portal, which we'll walk through in a moment, you will only ever get an offer from one school. You can apply to up to 3 programs, but you'll only ever get an acceptance from one program because we only participate in one program at a time. So if I'm going to use an example, let's say we participate in 3 programs. So let's say we applied to the IB program at Bevel, the math and science program at Graham Park, and the world language program at Fred Lynn. And I said, those are the correct steps. So Bevel's my first choice, Graham Park's my second choice, and Lake Ridge is my third choice. If you are accepted into your first choice application or first choice program, you will not receive an offer from your second and your third. Your offer will be from your first choice program, and you would choose to either accept that seat or to decline that seat. If you do not accept it, then if you do not accept that seat, then you just continue to go to your base school. However, if you are not accepted in your first choice program, then your second choice program will then be the next one they'll review. So we'll go, so first choice Bevel said, no, no, thank you, not at this time, we don't have enough seats. Then we would look at your second choice, which would be the Graham Park Math and Science program. If they accept you, you would get your offer from them, and you would not receive an offer from Lake Ridge. And then same example straight down. So if you did not receive an offer from Bevel, and you did not receive an offer from Graham Park, but you did receive your offer from Lake Ridge, then you would receive an offer from Lake Ridge. So even though you apply to 3, you will only ever get an offer from one program, and you will be able to see that in your application portal. We recommend that families check the application portal in mid-February, start checking right around the 12th, 13th, 14th. We do have families that check every single day. You're welcome to do that as well. But that is important that you check. All of the communication for our applications come through the portal. You will not receive emails from our office or from our team when those decisions are made. They all go through the portal. The portal will email you or text you. And then by March 5th is the date that you need to remember to accept your seat. So if you're offered a seat, it gives you about a week and a half or 2 weeks to decide if this is a program for you or not for you, if logistics work out, and you'll accept your seat or you will decline your seat. Again, if you accept your seat, we'll go ahead and transfer your student over to that program location starting in the beginning of the following school year. If you decline your seat, your student remains at their base school. It's important to know that if you decline a seat or if you rescind a seat, you cannot reverse that. So if you decline a seat and say, I don't want it, and then on March 6th, you're like, oh, just kidding, I really want it, we can't do that. We move on to the next person in line, and that seat is given away. So it's really important that you think through your offers and your options really clearly as you're applying, and then of course, as you're accepting as well. And the same thing for students who are in the program and then they change their mind throughout the program and they say, I don't want to do that, I want to go back to my base school. Once you are out of the program, the only way to get back in is to reapply in the next application cycle, which means that you would not re-enter that program till the following school year. So really important things to kind of think through. Okay. Students get 3 types of acceptance results. So accepted, not accepted, or waitlisted, and they're pretty straightforward. If you're accepted, you've been offered a seat. Not accepted, you have not offered a seat in any program. So the very rarely will you see not accepted, or you might see wait list. So if you're on a wait list, that means that there are more applicants than the number of seats available, but they have put you in a wait list order, and you will be notified if your position comes open on that wait list. That's available for you. So now we're going to take a moment. We're going to walk through the application and the website so you can see all the pieces we've been talking about. So to start with our website, if you start on the Prince William County website, I'm going to start from the very beginning. There is a shortcut, as you guys saw on the slide. So pwcs.edu/specialty programs. But if you're trying to get to us the long way, as I call it, you're going to go to the main website. You're going to click on academics. And at the very top, you're going to see advanced academics and specialty programs, and you're going to click on that. This is where you should have come to sign up for your presentation. So you should be somewhat familiar with this page. And you click on specialty programs and you list all of your information sessions. Just to kind of review also, we are recording this session. We will post it on our website by the end of the month so that you can come back and visit this as often as you like. But you'll see here all of our specialty programs. And if you click on middle school programs, you have a bunch of information on our middle schools. Our general sessions, you're here with me today. There's another one offered next week. So if you know someone who was unable to come today or might need some language interpretation services, they are welcome to come, and please be sure to spread the word. And then down at the very bottom, we have all of our programs available. So I'm just going to walk you through one of them so you can kind of see an in-depth. So let's go with math and science, because that's kind of a good one. And good one in meaning that they're all good, but a good one to walk through on the website because it's a little bit easier to understand. At the very top, you'll have a very clear description of the program, and it'll always tell you what grades that program is available. So open for rising 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. It tells you what program it is a transfer, which means that the student participate in that program all day. So they transfer to the school where the program is if it's not their base school. And we have a link here for transportation, but we're going to come back to that in a moment. It gives you all of the program locations. Remember, we have 3 for middle school math and science. We have Graham Park, Marsteller, and a little bit further down, we have Ripon. So if you can't see something, keep scrolling down. But if we look at this Graham Park one first, you'll see we always list the coordinator and how to get in touch with them by phone number and by email. We have a website, because this is part of your research part, right? Is to visit their website. We have an information session. There are 2. Every school will have at least 2 information sessions, and they'll tell you what format it is. So if you look at this one on November 17th, so a month from now at 6:30, Graham Park is going to have theirs in person at Graham Park. But on January 12th, they're going to do one on Zoom. So if you were unable to make the 17th, you can hit the one on January 12th. We also tell you what programs are zoned or what schools are zoned there. So if your student will be going to, meaning your house is zoned for Benton, Bevel, Graham Park, Hampton, or Saunders, their program is going to be Graham Park. So all that information is listed for all of our programs here on the website. You can also go, I'm going to go back one to middle school programs here. You can also see over here on the right-hand side of the screen, we have the application process, which is what we've just kind of talked through. At the very top of that page, when our application goes live, there will be a button up here that says apply now. But if you don't remember the order of what you're supposed to do, you can just kind of scroll down and you'll be able to see it here. Okay. The other thing that's really important is the transportation information. Oh, let's go back to middle school programs. My apologies. Is the transportation information here. And it's really important that you see that. So again, we talk about transfer programs. We give you the definition of express bus stops. And if you look here, we have already listed for this coming school year, the 22-23, and we'll update them for 23-24, all of the bus stops that have been given to us. We are waiting for those to be finalized, but they will be updated prior to the application going live. And you'll see here we have all the schools. So the first one's Bevel Middle School. If this is the program location where you're trying to attend, these are the stops that are here. It's important to know that the house does not mean your house. It is a recreation center, and we will clarify that in this year's application on the website as well as in the application here. And so these are all the bus stops. So ahead of time, you'll know exactly how far a stop might be from your school. I will tell you that very often we repeat bus stops, so they very rarely make up completely new bus stops. So this is probably a fairly good list, but there will be a better list available very shortly. And then we're going to go to the application. So again, this is our general one, and we're going to go to the application. So this is our application. So when you come to our application, the really important thing I'd like to point out really early is this button up here that says select language. Our application does translate through Google Translate into 120 different languages. And they also have directions on how to create a program. So general information, I always suggest that families read the instructions. I know most people don't, but please read the instructions. A really important piece to say is duplicate applications for the same program will be eliminated, and most recent submissions will be kept. And we'll talk through what that looks like for you in just a moment. But if, when I told you that you're going to choose your programs, choice 1, choice 2, and choice 3, if you choose 2 first choice programs, it tells our team that you have changed your mind about which first choice program you want. And so we replace that. So we replace the original one with the second one. So we'll show you how to do that. We actually have added a feature in our application this year that'll make it a lot easier. If you don't know how to create an account, they have directions here in English and in Spanish, how to add all those, how to add students to your account as well. And then we have information on specialty programs. So you're going to, if you haven't created an account, you're going to create an account, but I already have one. So we're going to go ahead and log in. And again, this is your dashboard. And you'll see that I have associated students over here on the left, right? So I'm going to go ahead and show you the associate student button. And this is where you're going to add your children. You only need one family account or one account per family. So if you have 7 children in your family, you can all use the same account. If you have 1 child in your family, you can use the same account. But you only need one application per family. It is also really important to use an email address that you check often, because all of the communication from the portal goes directly to that email address. So if you use an email address that you don't check very often, you will miss those notifications. And then as soon as you create an account, it will send you a confirmation email. Make sure that you get that confirmation email. And if you don't, check your spam box, because sometimes it does sit there. So when you go in here, you're going to create your student. You're going to give them their current grade level, their current school, where they go right now. And then it's really important to put where they are going, what grade they'll be in next year, and where they're going to go next year. So, and that means like, where is your neighborhood school? Our application adjusts based on where your neighborhood school is. And so make sure you put your neighborhood school, not the school that you're intending to apply for. So if we go back to my main dashboard, you'll see I have 3 children, Tuna, Jasmine, and Winnie Cooper. These are my cats. These are not my children. And so Jasmine's my middle schooler. So we're going to edit her and make sure that she's correct. So if you look at Jasmine, here's her current grade. We're going to make her a 5th grader, and we'll have her going to, let's put her in Tatum. And then next year she'll be a 6th grader, and she will be going to, let's go to Benton, just because it's at the very top. Okay. So now Jasmine is set up. And so I'm going to go ahead and submit an application for Jasmine. If you do this now, that submit button is not going to get you very far. We have opened it it's not opened. There's a special backdoor we're using for the time being. So I'm going to begin an application for Jasmine. And you'll see when I click on the applications for Jasmine, it's going to give me all of the programs that are available. So we do have other programs that use our same portal. So these are here, but as you can see, they're closed right now. But here are the programs that you see. When you see here, this last thing that says appeal available, you will not see that because your application will be live. So it'll be, everything else will look the same here except the appeal available. And of course, we'll update the dates with our developer before we go live. You'll also see all of the programs that are offering that program, all the schools that offer that program. And let's go ahead and apply to a world language program. So let's click on this one. I apply to the world language program middle school. It's going to give me a drop down menu. It says applicable grades 6th, 7th, and 8th. Clearly we need to adjust that because you can only apply in 6th grade. And we're going to go ahead and it would say submit an application. Because she's going to, of her base school, she's going to Benton, she's going to go to Parkside. And remember, you can choose your language, English or Spanish or French. So Jasmine really wants to speak French. So she's going to click French here. And it's going to say complete a new application. So Jasmine's going to go in, complete a new application. A lot of the information that you put in the portal will automatically port over. So you don't have to worry about that. But they do ask a little bit more information for you from that application. So So I'll fill this out for you. And they sometimes, I don't know why they always ask you for that, but they always ask you for that part. Your student email address. This is what your student will check most often. We're really looking for the Prince William County email address. But whatever your student will check most often is fine. As you can see here, it brought over the family information. This button gets me every time. Make sure you say what your relationship is to the student, because it will not go forward without that. So I'll click that Jasmine's my child, so I'm her mother. And remember, I told you have to choose what option this is. Is this her first, second, or third choice? This world language program at Parkside is going to be my first choice. I then get to choose my bus stop. So I'm going to go ahead and click get picked up at Bristow Run. And then there's some acknowledgement. So if accepted, do you meet the requirements? Yes, I understand. It's really important that you know what the requirements are before you accept them. So that's why it's really important to visit that school. We prefer to disrupt student learning as little as possible. So we don't want you to commit to a program that maybe you're not able to complete. And this athletic eligibility is for everybody. It doesn't really apply to middle schoolers, but it's on our general application. So you're going to go ahead and accept that. The world language, you're going to say, this is basically saying, yes, I still want to do the world language program in French. And then I, as her parent, would initial, and then I would sign and submit the application. So let's see if I've filled in enough information. I am a human. Oh, boo. So if you leave any information out, it will ask you to go back and fix it. So that is also a really nice stopgap. Once you've done that, you'll see your order is here. Here's your order number. Here's your email address. Here's who you sent it to. And now I can return to the dashboard. You guys can't hear it right now, but I did just get an email that says, oh, there it goes. You submitted something. And then if you go over here, you'll see here's Jasmine's application here for Parkside. Okay. So you'll be able to see that, and you'll see all the other ones. I'm going to go into, let's submit one more for Jasmine, just so you can see one more thing. So the other thing that we have added this year that'll be really cool is that if a student applies to a program and it's not their first program that they're applying to, you can change the order. So let's say you went to visit the math science program. You applied to the Parkside program and you're like, this is great. I love it. It's my number one choice. And then you go somewhere else and you're like, but this is what I really want to do next. You can make that change and the program will allow you to do that. So give me 1 second and I'll show you what that looks like. Because that is a new feature that we were just able to add in for you. And so here, again, I'm going to choose that I'm her mother. I'm going to say it's my first choice again. Oh, I did not do it on this one. Oh, yes, I did. Okay. So down here, you'll see set the order of tiers. So this is said, so all this, remember at the top is the same, but this now says you've applied to 2 different programs. I want to make sure that you are applying in the correct order. You originally said that Parkside was your number 1 and Grand Park is your number 2. Is that still the case? If the answer is yes, you'll certify that you've reviewed it and you'll submit. If the answer is no, you can just change the order. So you can click this button and that'll make Grand Park your first choice and Parkside your second choice. It's such a much better or good feature that we've added this year. So we're really pleased about that. And so you will be able to change the order of your programs here. If you have, sometimes we have families that have like 5 or 6 applications. That's fine. We keep the top 3 and we'll delete the whatever's left over. So if you're not sure and you want to put in applications, I have a lot of families that say, I want to put in an application because I don't want to forget. Feel free to do that. Just make sure you always arrange your preference order to the right one and we'll delete everything that's not your top 3. Okay. And then again, if you go back to the dashboard, you'll be able to see, the new program in that location. I'm going to go ahead and leave. And so you would have seen Jasmine's second application here. So that is our website. To kind of go back, we also offer some supports for you guys. So we We want to make sure that families have everything that they need in order to be successful in the application process. So we will offer starting in November, help sessions, and they'll be just an hour, a couple times a day, where if you have a question about your student's application, we don't go over necessarily program location or program information. So we're not going to sell you on a program, but if you are trying to apply and you're having difficulty, at the very bottom of the application portal, there is a help button that the company that runs our portal, they man all the time. They're very fast. They're excellent. But if you have specific questions for us, we're also able to help you. You'll just be able to pop in. They're always on Zoom, so we can share screens and we can see exactly what you see. So let's do a very quick recap of what we've covered tonight. So right now you're in that information session time. You are going to make sure that you find the information sessions that are available. You're going to make sure that you visit them and you do all of the research on your schools. On November 1st, the application portal will open and you'll be able to apply at that time. On February 1st, your application is going to close. In mid-February, we're going to have decisions available in the portal, and then all applications are going to be due on March 5th. Remember that you can apply to up to 3 programs, but that you must rank them in order and that you will only ever receive an offer from 1 program at a time. That was all of our information for this evening. I know that there's been some questions in the Q&A, so I'm going to turn off this screen. This is my contact information for you guys. Again, if you want to take a picture, but I'm going to turn off the presentation so you can see my face again. And then Mrs. Brown will unmute and ask me any questions that either have shown up that haven't been answered yet, or maybe there's some popular questions that need to be answered. I'm ready when you are, Ms. Brown.
Thanks. So one question that just came through was about what do we need to do in order to, or what documents need to be uploaded in order to finish the application process?
Awesome. Great question. So nothing traditionally. So let me go back to the application portal really quickly. So right here, you'll see view or add docs. So it's an available option on all of our applications, but on the middle school level, for the most part, you don't need to add anything unless you are applying from out of county. So if you are out of county and you are applying, and let me clarify that, that means that you intend to move into the county before starting your program. So we do not accept out of county students in our programs. But let's say you are living in Fairfax, but you just bought a house in Prince William County and you know that you're going to apply in the future. If you don't currently reside in Prince William County, we don't have access to your educational records. And so the schools will want that. So if you can upload a transcript, that would be great. However, if you are in Prince William County and your student is in Prince William County, we have access to everything. The directors or coordinators have access to everything. So we don't need anything. We only need something if you are out of Prince William County. I will also say that Porter runs a lottery for students with disabilities that is separate from their general lottery. So they will occasionally ask for, if your student has an IEP, for you to upload that IEP. But those are the only 2 nuances or outliers that might be. But in general, nothing. We need nothing.
Okay. So the next question that's come up a few times is, do I need to apply for the program every year that my child wants to participate?
No. So you must apply to the program regardless if it's your base school or not. So if you already attend Grand Park, Grand Park's your base school, you're not automatically in the math science program. You do have to attend or apply to the program to get in. But once you are in until you take yourself out. So if you get in as a 6th grader and you do fine, and then you get out as a 7th grader, you will have to apply to get back in as an 8th grader. But as long as you continue your program participation and you continue to meet the criteria of the program, you don't have to apply again. You only have, it's a one-time application.
Wonderful. Okay. Oh, how do we find out what school we are zoned for?
So there's this is my favorite thing on ever is Find My School. Prince William County has this great thing called Find My School. I always go Find My School PWCS. And if you click on this, find your school assignment, And up here, you put your address. So you don't have to even put the whole thing. It's 15, anyone know what the KLC address is? 714?
14715 Bristow
Thank you.
Road.
15 Bristow Row. You would think I would know it by now. So I'll put that there. And then if I click search, oh, I should click my buttons over here. I want to know what my elementary, my middle, and my high school programs are. And I'll search, and it will, it does work a little bit slower, but it will bring you up all of your your choices. So we'll wait for that to kind of make its way through and see what is available. What's your next question while we're waiting for that to come up?
Let's see. Students with IEPs, do families need to denote that information on their application? Or is
No.
that something that is addressed in other ways?
Yeah, so we don't require that information because it's not a deciding factor for us. Like I said, Porter will, because they have a separate lottery. So they have a separate class for that, just because of the nature of their program. But every other program, every other school offers special education. They offer English language learner services. They offer gifted services. So we don't traditionally ask for anything that's not a criteria for entry. So we will not ask for that. So no, if you have an IEP, unless you're applying to Porter, we don't need it. Our website is up. So for example, if you were here at the Kelly Leadership Center, here is the address for the Bristow Road. You put it in here and you'll see that I'm zoned for Coles Elementary, Benton Middle School, and Colgan High School. So this tool is one of my favorites, always, always, always. So Find My School is perfect. And that's how you would always find your location.
Sorry, I'm reading through as I'm also answering some of these, so I want to make sure
That's
that I
okay.
get them correct.
No problem.
So we've talked about the wait list, or I'm sorry, we've talked about that the applications are not done in a first come, first serve manner. How then does that translate to a wait list when a wait list has to be implemented?
Yeah, so it's really a true random lottery. So all students who are eligible are put in a bucket, for lack of a better word, and we press a button and the computer mixes them up randomly and they accept in that order. So if there's a wait list, we know that there are often a couple schools. So like Porter and Pennington almost always have a wait list. Marsteller often will have a wait list. Lake Ridge will have often has a wait list, doesn't always, but sometimes has a wait list, sometimes Parkside as well. So it's really just everyone who's eligible is put in the same pool, and then the computer will create the roster of who the, of the acceptances. What happens is once we send them over to the coordinators for review, the coordinators then tell us, I have X number of seats available. So that's a question you absolutely should ask when you go to visit the schools. Do you have a lottery? How many seats do you have available? And that will kind of give you a really good idea of what the chances are. But it's always varies based. Like I always get families that say, what are my chances of getting in? It really varies based on the number of applicants we have that year. And that changes every time, but it is a random lottery and we run the lottery at central office level.
Here's a great question. Which of our programs continue at the high school level? So go from middle school, and then the students could apply to the same or a similar program at the high school level.
Okay, so the really easy answer is the International Baccalaureate Program. It's a program that starts in first grade and can go all the way to 12th grade. But the better answer is all of our programs have some sort of an annex or a connection or a nexus to the next level. So for example, students that are in the world language programs might want to attend a program like the CISL or a Center for International Studies and Languages program at Hilton. Students in the math science program might want to attend any of our math and science programs like the Center for Environmental and Natural Sciences at Freedom, the Center for Biotech and Biomed at OP or at Gainesville High School. There's a lot. So anything that a student is doing now, with the exception of the traditional schools, can transfer, and same gender. There's a really good nexus to something in the high school level.
Thank you. So then students who are receiving gifted services or special education services or English language services or whatever else there is, will they still receive those services if they transfer for a specialty program?
Absolutely. Yes. Those are services that are with your student. They follow your student to any school that they attend. So yes, they will still receive those services. And we don't need, with the exception of Porter's Lottery, there is not, it's because they have a separate pool for those students because of the number of seats in that class is a little bit different. With the exception of that, we don't need to know that information ahead of the application process. It is not a factor in deciding whether your student gets into the program or not. So you do not have to provide that. You will notice on the application, it does not ask for that at all because it doesn't matter to us. We're interested in kids who are interested in the programs. We place them first, and then we provide them the services as needed.
Thank you. And then your conversation about the wait list has brought up a couple of questions.
Sure.
If a student if they are placed on a wait list for their first choice, and then we review their application for their second choice, and we offer them a seat to their second choice. If they accept the seat to the second choice, does that mean they forfeit their space on the wait list? How will that work?
That is excellent. No, you don't forfeit your seat. If it is a program, the two programs we traditionally offer a wait list on, like I said, Pennington and Porter, you'll remain on that wait list for entirety until September 30th. So we don't take that away from you. If you are very far down the wait list, so like I said, Pennington traditionally has like 700 applicants for about 100 slots. So you can kind of have a good idea of where you sit in that. But you can go ahead and accept your other seat and you'll remain on the other wait list.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So students that are, sorry, I'm reading and talking and I shouldn't do both at the same time. So students who are in Prince William, when they apply for their program, family, and they're accepted into, say, the math science program at Ripon, because that's the school that they feed into when they submit the application. If their family moves to a different location, to a school maybe that is zoned for Marsteller, are they automatically accepted into the Marsteller math and science program, or will they have to reapply, or what will happen?
Yes, so you are not automatically accepted into the other program. Your acceptance is based on the program to which you have applied. So if you move from one zone to another zone, we ask that you reach out to us and we will try to facilitate a transfer, but it's not always a guarantee. But we do try to work as much as we possibly can with families who are in that position, but it's not a guaranteed transfer. So if you think you're in, or if you know you're going to move, let us know. But your acceptance is only acceptance at that school. But we do our best to accept you or to transfer your application over to the other school. And I would say 95% of the time it's absolutely feasible and absolutely doable. But there are occasional situations where because of numbers, they're unable to accept your student. So not perfect, but good.
So, and the last question that we have, and I say the last, and I'm sure somebody's going to type in a question for me as I say
Sure.
that. Another question that we have is about the traditional schools, and do we anticipate additional traditional schools being opened, or because of the popularity, how is that addressed?
We do not at this time anticipate opening additional traditional schools. What was the first part of that question?
That was it.
Okay.
Is that with the large number of applications and with them being so popular,
yep,
do we anticipate additional ones to be opened? If we don't anticipate that, who should families share their concerns with? That was the part of the question I didn't have the answer to.
That's a great question because I don't know. I have the answer for that either. I don't, unfortunately, I'm not sure I have the answer for that, but I can look that up and get back to, if you can find out who asked that question specifically, we can try to get back to them with an answer on that.
Terrific. Thank you.
Was that it? Did I get them all?
Oh, one moment.
Sure.
When we say students need to be in good academic standing, some are asking for some additional clarity on what is good academic standing.
Yeah, so it's traditionally a C or better. A C or better in terms of academics. In terms of behavior, schools traditionally will look for, it depends on what grade, right? Because like in the U's can sometimes be concerning. But I will also say, like I said earlier in the program, if there's a special situation that that the schools need to consider for your student, I always recommend that you reach out to the coordinator and let them know. So if you have a student who has an extenuating circumstance for the reason why. So we had a student, or we have had in some point, a student may have had like a lot of moves or other things that may have impacted their education. It's important that you reach out to that coordinator and let them know, just so that they are aware that your student is might fall outside of the traditional criteria. It doesn't always guarantee that that means that your student will get in, but I always feel like it's better to inform somebody so that they don't have to guess. Like if they have to guess, then they're going to make the decision based on what's on the paper. But if there's an extenuating circumstance that they should consider, that's really important for them to have that information. And again, everybody's contact information is on our website.
Thank you. And then that last part I'm going to use just to make it easier for me to answer the question.
Sure.
If a school does not have their information nights posted, that means they have not shared that information with us.
Yeah.
So if it's not there and you are interested in the program, please reach out to the coordinator and let them know that we don't have their information nights and you're interested in finding out when they are. As soon as we get that information, we will be able to post it. But we can't post it till we have that information.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Thank you guys for asking amazing questions. And if you need us, our contact information is on your screen. And of course, we look forward to seeing you at some of your information sessions at the schools, because we will be at some of them. We'll pop up guest visits. And if you have any other questions, send us an email, follow us on social media, and we look forward to seeing your applications come in soon. There's a question in the chat. I'll go ahead and answer. So all of our information on our specialty programs are posted on our website. And you can go to pwcs.edu/specialty programs, and you'll be able to see all of the general information. We do very general information here. The specific information is done at the school level. So that's why we make sure that we share that. And of course, we are recording this session, and we will post it within by the end of the month. We just wait for it to get out of a transcription.